Hi, how you doing? Darren here again. Today I'm going to be showing you how to replace the alternator on your 6.0 Powerstroke diesel engine. Today this is an 05 Excursion, but this works from any 03 to 07 F1, F250, F350, 450, 550, and Excursions all have this motor. So hope you enjoy it. It's a pretty easy process. I'm going to show you some tips and tricks to go ahead and help you remove it. Hopefully it'll save you some time. Basically the problem here is that we have no charging voltage when the vehicle is running at all. I got like 10 volts. Batteries are about 3 years old too. Exactly 3 years old. So I'm going to go ahead and replace those as well with the alternator. Kind of an expensive repair, but this thing's about to go cross country, so we don't want to break it down. So here are the tools that you are going to need to replace your alternator. Alright, so the tools you need, I'm using various wrenches and sockets, but basically what you'll need is a 10mm wrench or socket with a ratchet. You're going to need a 13mm, a pick, and then I use a little breaker, a little small breaker to get the alternator bolts off. There's 3 of them and they're kind of hard. So before we begin, if you do like this video, please press like or subscribe. That really helps me out. And also, if you do the procedure in a different way, I'd like to see that. Go ahead, leave something in the comment section. Let's start a conversation about how you guys do the job. And of course, maybe a nice cold drink. Always helps during the spring and summer. So here we go, we're about to start. Alright, now that we got our tools, the first thing you're going to want to do is disconnect your ground cables to that on both of your batteries, not just one. I'm actually going to remove the batteries completely, disconnect both, just because I'm replacing the batteries anyway. If you're not doing that, just remove your ground cable. By the way, if you need help diagnosing your alternator, you don't know if it's a bad battery or a bad alternator, you don't know how to test the alternator, I got a wonderful video I'll include in a link in the description that I made on knowing for sure whether your alternator is good or bad. So make sure to check that out if you have any questions. Now that you got your cables disconnected or your batteries removed, next thing you're going to want to do is remove your main battery cable on the back of your alternator. It's held down by a 10mm nut. Go ahead, break that loose and remove that. Your new alternator probably does come with a new nut, but I like to keep these aside just in case, or throw it in your toolbox. Set that down there and remove that. After that's done, the next step we're going to do is remove this connector, this 2-wire connector. Go ahead, there's a little pin you have to depress. I like to get a flat blade screwdriver to press it and it pops right out. Alright, now that we got the electrical disconnected from the alternator, next step we're going to do is remove our belt. The nice things about the 6.0s is they come with a kind of a quick release belt. That tensioner, which is right, I don't know if you can see that too good, right down there, it's got a tab, and when you pull on this right here, which is this side of the belt, you can pull on it pretty firm and the tensioner will lock into place, which will allow you to remove it, the belt off of the snout. If not, you're gonna have to get yourself a wrench and get on this bolt down here to turn the pulley. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab that and release it. Not too sure how well this is coming out, but there's a tab right in the middle of the screen that is holding up the tensioner. You'll see yours. You're just gonna have to lock it into place, and when that happens, all you need to do is just take the belt and work it over the snout and keep the belt in place. You don't have to remove it completely. So next step we're going to do is you're going to take your 1/2 inch or 13mm and remove all 3 of these bolts that hold down the alternator. Just right there. Right, once we have our bolts out, you're free to take your alternator and remove it. Next thing I like to do is compare it to the new one, just to make sure all the mounting holes are in the same location, pulley size is the same, which it is, and the location of where the stud is for the battery cable is the same, which they are. So that's definitely good news. I'm going to go ahead and mount this bad boy on now. Once you got it all mounted up, next step you're going to put your belt on, and while keeping tension, you're going to go ahead and release that tab. That tab's down there again, so go ahead and give your belt a little tension, and with the screwdriver pick at that tab, and you'll have tension again. Your tensioner assembly will allow your belt to become tight. You use a pick like this to get that tab. You get right underneath of it and you pop it out when you're holding the belt. So now that we got everything all put back together, last thing I like to do is check the voltage with the vehicle off and the vehicle running. What you should see here with a voltmeter are set on DC volts, about 12.6 if your batteries are good, 12.7 fully charged, all the way down to maybe 12.2 is a minimum for a healthy battery. So go ahead and start it. You should see anywhere from 13.2 to 14.5, 14.6. Anywhere above that's going to be overcharging, and you may need to take a look at your brand new alternator. So I'm going to go ahead and do that at this time. So as you can see, the alternator is now charging the battery. Last thing I like to do while I'm here, this is just a personal preference, especially with the new battery, I like to go ahead and clean the terminals and seal them with a little bit of sealer. I've used spray paint and primer before just to make sure. It's very common on these 65 group batteries. They'll actually externally discharge, or you'll have like a lot of water and acid build up around here, and that's not good for them. So protecting the terminals is a very smart thing. If you found this repair helpful, please hit the like and subscribe button. Definitely helps me out. So catch you guys next time. Have a good weekend, good week. Take care.